sir, and my fellow classmates. This is Group 3. So, our topic is all about the anthropology. Let's go. What is anthropology? What is its view about the concept of self? So, anthropology is the study of people, past, present. It focuses on understanding the human cognition in its cultural aspect. So, in general sense, anthropology is concerned with understanding how humans evolve and how they differ from one another. Anthropology is a very dynamic field, and anthropological literature offers several different definitions of self. These discussions, however, will tackle the widely acceptable definitions of self in modern anthropology. So, self is a dynamic process by which a human experiences and identifies their specificity as a human intention when being a person. The self is an identification that negotiates the tension, opposition between being a person and being unique and human. This uniqueness is formulated differently in different cultures. It could be in terms of self as consciousness, as soul, as mind opposed to body, as a unity of soul, spirit, and body, as a unity between oneself and another, is synonymous with personhood, as opposite of the ways they are a person, and so on. Person or personhood is a bundle of rules, norms of behavior, expectations, responsibilities, obligation that situate a human being in social life. This bundle of rules, roles, responsibilities, obligations, or etc. are defined by specific cultural criteria and principles that are primarily related to gender, sexuality, age, class, birth order, and other kinship identities, as well as other identifications such as class and division of labor. Thus, a person is the way a human fulfills, enacts, negotiates, or struggles with diverse ways in which they are also a person defined by social, legal, moral, economic, and political institution.
But unitary. One definition of self in modern anthropology characterizes the term in its most general, ordinary, and everyday use. Anthropologist and Professor Catherine Ewing, 1990, described the self as encompassing the physical organism, possessing psychological functioning and social attributes. This definition portrays the self as implicitly and explicitly existing in the mind, comprised of psychological, biological, and cultural processes.
Neuroscientist Joseph Liaudot, 2002, conceptualized the implicit and explicit aspect of the self. The aspect of the self that you can consciously aware of this explicit self while and one that is not immediately available to the consciousness at its implicit aspect. But according to Liaudot 2002, the self is not static. Static means that stable or lacking movement. So, the self is not stable. It is added to and subtracted from generic nutrition, learning, forgetting, stress, aging, and diseases. This is true about the implicit and explicit aspect of the self.
As representation. Ewing 1989 asserted that the self is illusory. People construct a series of self-representations that are based on selected cultural concepts of person and selected chains of personal memories. So, each self-concept is experienced as a whole and continuous with its own history and memories that emerge in the specific context to be replaced by another self-representation
when the context changes. By self-representation, Ewing meant cultural shape, self-concepts that one applies to oneself. It is the mental entities that are supposed to represent the self.
Embedded in culture. How individuals see themselves, how they relate to other people, and how they relate to the environment are deeply defined by culture. If one finds the view that the self is a product of society, then it is plausible that the ways of how the self is developed are bound to cultural difference as well. Cultural anthropologists have argued that the self is a culturally shaped and infinitely variable. Cultural traditions are social practices regulate, express, and transform the human psyche, resulting less in psychic unity for humankind than ethnic divergence in mind, self, and emotion. So the basic idea is that the principle of how the mind works cannot be conceived as universal, but it is as varied as the culture, tradition, the people, and practices of all over the world.
Cultural psychologists distinguish two ways of how the self is constructed. These are independent and dependent. These self-construals are also embedded in culture. Construal independent construct, interdependent construct. Cultural psychologists distinguish two ways of how the self is constructed. These are the independent and dependent constructs. These are self-construals. Construals are also embedded in culture. Construal is an interpretation of the meaning of something, hence, in the sense, the meaning of self. The independent construct is characteristics of individualistic culture, such as in North America and Europe. Individualistic culture represents the self as separate, distinct, with emphasis on internal attributes or traits, skills, and values. The interdependent construct is typical of collectivist culture in East Asia, stressing the essential connection between the individual to other people.
Developmental psychologist Catherine Reeve, 2010, believed that culture can influence how you view relationships, personality traits, achievements, and expressing emotions. Relationships. Culture influences how you enter into and maintain relationships. For example, relationship may be seen as voluntary or as duty-based. In Western societies, it is essential for a person to choose whom to marry, while some Eastern societies still practice arranged marriage. Personality traits. Culture influences whether and how you value traits like humility, self-esteem, politeness, assertiveness, and so on, as well as how you perceive hardship or how you feel about relying on others. Achievements. Culture influences how you define success and whether you value certain types of individual and group achievements. Expressing emotions. Culture influences what will affect you emotionally as well as how you express yourself, such as showing your feelings in public or keeping it private.